what's really going on. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Today, going to be taking a look at Cardano, ADA against USDT. Going to be taking a look at some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be looking at some of the pivotal areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with in the very near future here. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish on price action moving forward? Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you let the price action unfold? Do you bullish on Cardano? Do you think we're going to interact with these, multi-dollar levels soon, and we're going to see perhaps the, $4, $5, $10 Cardano level in the coming weeks here? Or are you bearish on price action, and do you suspect resistance at a lower high, perhaps around just under that swing high there, around $2.38? Do you suspect we're going to interact with these lower levels, fall through support, and plummet below a dollar where we came from not too long ago? Now let me know your strat moving forward. Jumping right into it to kind of recap price action that has interacted with this ascending kind of trend line that I've had since sort of the COVID crash back in March. We've had price action interacting above and below it for a period of months over the coming past year here. We fell below this ascending trend line at the kind of beginning of September of 2020. We had some price action from September to January of this year before we interacted with it again. We had three kind of interactions. The third interaction we actually broke, but at the beginning of January of this year was when we were coming back up above this kind of ascending trend line to bring us into levels that we are trading in now. And so, to kind of assess this very kind of volatile sideways that we've had, I'll kind of see a new perspective come into play a moment here when you realize just how overbought we have been and why price action is so volatile up and down. I suspect, based on the current channel this is trading in and the kind of just how bullish Cardano has been over the past year, I do suspect perhaps some more, perhaps accumulation or some bearish price action is needed before the uptrend can continue. Cardano is ultimately very bullish at the moment fundamentally, but from a technical perspective, we are still quite overbought in my opinion. I suspect perhaps interaction with this ascending trend line along $1.38 to $1.48, I believe, could be some levels that we see in the coming future here. We can ultimately still be more short-term bullish if we hold above kind of like $1.40, although we could very well get trapped back in this range above or under $1.38 above $1 kind of things, like $1.08 to $1.38 is going to be perhaps a range that we could get bounced back and forth between, that we kind of just came from not too long ago. We had some multiple retests off of that $1.38 resistance kind of end of February, middle of March, and then middle of April. And it wasn't until the beginning of May that we ended up breaking that resistance, setting some higher highs around $2.40, just to for momentum to change very abruptly and us plow through that support to interact with lower support found around $1.08. We could very well have some lows below a dollar, around 94 cents, ultimately, although we are still looking quite bullish in my opinion long term. Now, when we consider EngineeringRobo along with the Fibba Illuminati, Fibba Zucchini lines, we can see a new perspective come into play when we consider these very scary sell suggestions. We have the sell 2, sell 3, sell 4, hell, all the bearish suggestions coming back into play for price action against Cardano. And so, I mean, this this short-term bearish price action could play out for a period of weeks still. We could find some prolonged accumulation as this just before where we came from, just before our kind of more recent breakout. This phase of accumulation between that kind of like $1.08 to $1.38 level was longer than 2 months. And so, if you consider since since probably that swing high to, let's say, kind of the 19th of May to now, we're only in kind of just over sort of 2 weeks of consolidation. So we could very much have another kind of 2 more weeks perhaps as we find our way toward that this ascending trend line here and interact with some more kind of higher lows. Price action trying to hold that 0.618 line at $1.53. I believe that's going to be around $1.55. I believe is going to be the kind of psychological kind of like more round level. But the 0.618 is at $1.53, just above my $1.49 kind of like upper support zone there. The 0.5 line at $1.24 is not impossible to interact with before we interact with the $2 range again. more lows that we see for Cardano, I believe, can be quite bullish in the short term. Some more buying opportunities at some lower levels, I believe, is going to be healthy for the uptrend to continue, as we are still above the 200 daily moving average, which is a long-term bullish indicator. The 0.786 line at $1.95, kind of around that $2 kind of psychological level. $1.95 is going to be some local resistance moving forward that I believe if we were to get a rejection off of, that will most likely bring us through that 0.618 all the way to perhaps my kind of lower kind of zone here of $1.38. Now, when we consider EngineeringRobo's Fear and Greed Index, we can see that price action has been very overbought up in this FOMO zone for quite some time. We've been, into the FOMO zone since the beginning of February up until right now, and price action up in the FOMO zone is met with very high sell pressure because this is when traders are typically taking profits. Mid to long term sort of investors will be taking profits at these levels from their kind of like key zones of accumulation probably several months prior, and so it's only when the coin's fundamentals are bullish enough to where we can see price action stay up in the FOMO zone for this long. And typically what occurs upon entering the FOMO zone is sort of like an immediate rejection, and we come out of it to kind of return to it in the future. Although, like I said, if the fundamentals are strong enough, we could have some very volatile price action in the FOMO zone where FOMO is present, tops are bought, bottoms are bought, and the rally continues. And so against all of the very high technical sell pressure, we have some very high fundamental buy pressure at kind of all these points, causing some very volatile sideways. And so I suspect for price action to continue upward, we're going to have to exit the FOMO zone before the uptrend can continue. Although momentum could change at any moment, the fundamentals could change at any moment, and we could see a very volatile spike upwards, tens of percentages, perhaps 100% suddenly, because lots can happen up in the FOMO zone. When we consider Cardano against the price of Bitcoin, we can see price action interacting with what appears to be resistance. It smells rather double top-ish-y, lower highs printing relative to that swing high at the kind of middle of May here. Price action the past few days seeming to be interacting with resistance. If we fail to kind of break the sort of like what appears to be 48, 47, 48.94 to kind of like 49.60, like all those, that kind of like Satoshi level up there. If we can't really bust through that and kind of pass ultimately like 50.49 Satoshi, technically, this will be kind of like some lower highs and will be quite short-term bearish in my opinion. Ultimately could bring us down to perhaps that 31.02 Satoshi level, although I believe the Fibba Illuminati lines will give us some more some better local kind of support and resistance levels that I believe we're going to interact with before we come down to that 30.96 level if we are bearish enough too. So when we consider EngineeringRobo along with the Fibba Zucchini lines of bikinis, martinis, linguini, and Lamborghinis, we can see a new perspective come into play when we consider the buy for coming in after this sell for hell, buy for returned as we consolidated above that 21.12 Satoshi level, just under kind of resistance found around kind of like 23.75 was kind of like nearing a zone of sort of local resistance before we were able to break through and interact with more significant resistance around 30.85 Satoshi. We have that buy for to support that consolidation, the moon to support the breakout. Price action above the 200 daily moving average against the price of Bitcoin is ultimately bullish, suggesting a break upward. And so now, with that, we've set some higher highs. We've interacted with kind of like 5,032 Satoshi, and now shortly after that, momentum changed abruptly, and we got this sell for to print during the crazy candle that opened at like 46.65, wicked all the way back down to that 30.93 Satoshi level, but then ultimately closed around 39.94. And so that definitely was bearish enough to print that sell suggestion, although the moon is still present. So we could very well have some long-term bullish price action against the price of Bitcoin, although with that sell for, some bearish short-term price action is likely to be more likely, in my opinion. Interaction with that 0.786 line at 40.91 Satoshi is going to be pretty likely, as like I was saying, we're at resistance at the moment, and we appear to be printing a lower high, and so this could be quite short-term bearish. Failure to hold that 0.786 will bring us down to that 0.618, a nice higher low in my opinion relative to my support line at kind of like 3093 Satoshi. That 0.618 line is still going to be bullish in my opinion if we were to hold that. The 0.5 line just under my support level at 2782 Satoshi is kind of a more bearish target that we could see some wicks off of if we were to come all the way back down there. Ultimately, I suspect the 0.618 and the 0.786 lines to be the kind of range that we could find our way kind of back and forth with interaction with my 3093 Satoshi level there. Significant resistance is going to be found around 5311 Satoshi, in my opinion. That's going to be a kind of key level we're going to have to break through at some point. But until then, I do believe some perhaps short-term bearish price action against the price of Bitcoin is pending, as even Bitcoin needs to kind of figure itself out where it's going to find support. And so, speaking of Bitcoin, if we consider Bitcoin against USDT, we can see a new perspective come into play when we consider price action below that 200 daily. Interacting with these Fibonacci lines, we have resistance found around, just under 40K there, like I was kind of suspecting. If we failed to kind of break that kind of level, that could send us right back down. We are printing what seems to be a higher low at this exact moment, although I believe interaction with that 34,300 level to be, not impossible in the very near future here. Interaction with the bottom of that 200 daily moving average is going to be very high sell pressure, kind of under that level. That 0.618 at 41,500 is going to be very significant resistance moving forward, I believe, if we were to get up to it. A rejection off of that level could send us right through the 0.5 Fibonacci line at 34.3 to my support found around 32,000. And so ultimately, we could very well see some more downside within the 30K kind of range. We can have some very volatile multi-$1,000 ups and downs between 41 and 34K before we can even think about going to the 50s again. You have the super sell and sell for suggesting some short-term bearish price action. We have that very FUD-inducing 200 daily moving average price action being below that is a very big bearish indicator for many traders. But ultimately, the fundamentals I believe are going to be strong enough to kind of pull us through this. We could have some very prolonged sideways and a very nice, healthy phase of accumulation to continue the uptrend. But ultimately, Bitcoin still smells more bullish than ever. 50% retracement from 60K to 30K, if you will, is a healthy pullback in a multi-100% parabolic year that we've had since 6K. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? I'm bullish long term, in my opinion. Short term, sideways. We can see some crazy accumulation phases play out for many coins. Lots is about to happen in crypto. There's still plenty of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Are you trading during all this crazy sideways, this accumulation? Or do you hold diamond hands through all this, accumulating back for all-time highs again? Let me know the strat moving forward if you have one. Thank you for tuning in. Try EngineeringRobo free with a link in the description. Subscribe here on YouTube. Check out all the other social media down below. And tune in for the next one.